This video is for anyone who's thinking of moving to Pittsburgh, is curious what it's like to live in Pittsburgh, or has lived in Pittsburgh and wants confirmation of their own experience, or just anyone who wants to know how another person's experience was. It can be helpful to hear another person's story because it gives us an understanding of what it's like to go through something before we really consider trying it ourselves. So this is my personal experience moving to and out of Pittsburgh. My story, however, is not everyone's story. So if you move, hopefully your story is a happy story. When I say my, of course, I'm talking about myself and my wife, but when she and this YouTube channel are in the same place at the same time, you better get your igloo gloves on because hell is gonna freeze over faster than a Parker solar probe. There is one reason we moved to Pittsburgh that I'll disclose. The other reasons I'll disclose now that I'm not gonna disclose for undisclosed reasons. The reason we moved to Pittsburgh is that we were kind of forced to. We lived in Easton, PA for about a year, and it was good. 30-minute commute, everyone was kind of close by, decent location, and our landlord said they wouldn't sell the house from underneath us.
You guys have nothing to worry about.
And 2 weeks later, they had a change of heart and said that we have 12 months.
Oh, come on, Sam, that's plenty of time.
Yeah, you would think so, but this was when rent was at an all-time high and availability was at an all-time low. Yeah, but 12 months, that's a long time, Sam. That's a lot of time to find a place. Not this time it wasn't. This time places go fast and there aren't a lot. So what do? We look away from Easton. We looked everywhere. Believe me when I tell you everywhere. And eventually we were like, you know what? Let's just move across the state. I have family there. I'll get a sales job.
Everything's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.
Okay, now here's why we moved out. Because it really had to do with our overall experience there and how horrifically bad it was. And I'm also leaving out some other reasons here for reasonably not disclosed. With reason. Driving. Folks, if you're looking for a place with flat roads, normal 90-degree turns, enough streets for people to easily get around during what should be a 10-minute drive, and a city where taking the wrong turn would not push your ETA back by 10-15 minutes, your best bet is taking a wild 180 and running away faster than a bat out of hell because Pittsburgh is not that place. The hills in Pittsburgh are horrendous, especially in the winter. Some of the turns are just insane. They got all sorts of back roads with no lights that are the fastest way to get around without going straight for 20 minutes, going through 5 quadrillion traffic lights, and coming from Easton, Pennsylvania, which for those who don't know is like right on the border of Jersey. This was not easy to stomach. By the way, Easton has nowhere near the population Pittsburgh does, but it's nowhere near the size, and it's definitely growing in population. Part of me got used to it, but eventually we just couldn't take it anymore. Even parking can be a nightmare. I would joke about an area called Banksville where parking lots are so badly laid out and getting around is so frustrating that the only reason you go to Banksville is to go to the bank, get all your money, and leave forever. This is nothing, by the way, against, the citizens of Banksville. I'm sure they're lovely people. But Pittsburgh drivers, or at least the ones I came across, were mainly either just going too fast or too slow or inattentive or any sporadic combination of the three. This was not everyone, but there were too many drivers, not nearly enough road, too many giant potholes and bumps, and it was just intolerable. Well, Sam, you talked about hills and turns and back roads and drivers, but do they at least have a decent traffic system? Don't even get me started. The traffic system in Pittsburgh. Traffic lights tend to work in Pittsburgh as if every day is opposite day. As soon as we get to a light, it would turn red. And I can't tell you how often I would find myself sitting at a red light, looking both ways, and seeing no cars coming. The ways where there are the most cars are the ways when it's red the longest, and when it is green, too many lights last maybe 5 seconds before they turn yellow. We would sit through 3 to 4 greens sometimes before actually passing a light, and say that whoever designed the traffic system in Pittsburgh should have been fired, because they got it all wrong. I don't know what goes into running Pittsburgh, and I'm sure it's a very, very difficult job, but I think Pittsburgh would benefit greatly from investing a boatload of money into either reasonably timing its own traffic lights, creating more lanes, or both. I read that recently they're trying to install these cameras so that they can catch when someone's running through red lights. Who's there to catch if they're always red? The only way that I can imagine someone being okay with driving in Pittsburgh, and I discussed this, by the way, with coworkers, customers, and family while I lived in Pittsburgh, and my impression is that either they learned how to drive there or learned how to drive in a very similar area, but I was not either of those. We ended up moving back to Easton, and almost a year and a half later, the traffic is worse here than it used to be, and I still think about how relieved I am that we don't have to deal with that anymore. The third reason is family. About a year into us living there, the family I had nearby moved further away from us, and we moved further away from them. I'll explain why shortly. And not long after that, they either left in general or we left in general. Visits became less frequent over time, and eventually this reason just turned into lack of family. The fourth one is Sugar. Before we moved to Pittsburgh, we only had 3 cats, but we could only bring one of them there. So we brought Sugar. Sugar was 16 years old. My family adopted her when she was 2, and she struggled with weight issues her whole life because she was found starved as a kitten. So every meal after that, she treated like her last. She would scarf food down, and she was a very chonky cat, but it was sad. She was like a Sour Patch Kid, you know? She was sour, then sweet, then gone, and she would walk into a room and she wanted a little bit of attention from everyone before leaving. She loved watching birds, and she had this chirpy, squeaky voice. I'm not gonna go into the details. Watch me just go into the details of this. But after we moved there, she started to develop signs of dementia. She would walk around slowly, stand in the middle of the room, looking around, and she would yowl at who knows what when we would assure her that we were there with her. She had a heart murmur that was getting worse. She was pretty much deaf. She had worsening digestive issues, and the vet that we went to, they did not help really at all. They kept urging us to pay a lot more for these tests and treatments and everything. This was before I discovered pet insurance, but we figured it would not be a good idea for her to continue that quality of life, especially as it just declined. So we had a lady come by who put her to sleep, and we had her cremated. She was taken from us and wrapped in her favorite blanket, holding her favorite rat toy that she would sleep with in her later years, and we got a paw print in a little dollop of clay. 2 years later, there's a little memorial of her underneath our TV with a picture of her on her back, a cat-shaped urn, the rest of her in a little box, and another decorative candle that we got as a holiday gift. This was really difficult for us to stomach because my wife spent so much time with her, and my family had her for 14 years. 14. If you've ever had a pet for 14 years, it doesn't matter how much of a pain in the neck they were, you know how hard it is to lose them. Number 5 is the miscarriage. This one I really actually don't want to go into details on. It was very difficult. It screwed a lot of things up, and I wrote a scathing review of the hospital in Pittsburgh talking about it on Google Maps because none of it sat right with us. That place should replace a big slice of its own staff, and a big slice of them should seriously reconsider being in medicine. Number 7, lastly, is the first apartment we lived in. That's right, this is a topic for at least 3 other videos, but here's the surface level of things. Everything from the countless unsolved maintenance issues, like that time we had no hot water for 5 days, which was, by the way, immediately after the miscarriage happened, and the garbage disposal that was broken for 10 months, to having no available parking spots most of the time, to the lead paint on the walls, to the really obnoxious neighbors with their 12 kids who haphazardly stored their bicycles in the garages, to the disgusting smells in the hallways, to the poop that was smeared all over the floor in the lobby doorway, whether it was of a human or animal, I have no idea to this day, to the trash that was scattered all over property grounds, to the light pole in front of the building that fell over and was left fallen over with exposed wires and wasn't fixed 4 months later when we left, to the traumatic 2.5 hour long flood we experienced that left our bathroom and master bedroom unusable for a month. I'll say this, our experience at this apartment was so bad, it was so upsetting and unhomely that we spent 2 months rent and forfeited our security deposit and paid $1,100 on top of that in made up bullcrap fees just to terminate our lease, get this, 2 months early.
Why didn't you just wait it out, Sam? That's such a waste of money.
Oh, we waited it out. We waited it out for 10 months. And that was 10 months too much. Worst slumlords on the face of the universe. It was so bad they don't even deserve to be named. They should go bankrupt, their management should probably be in jail, and the building should crumble, with its residents safely escaping beforehand. You know what I miss about Pittsburgh, though, that I wish was in Easton? 3 things. Number 1, simply put, no semi-trucks. There were no semi-trucks in Pittsburgh. We barely saw any. It's not like that in Easton at all. Number 2, our second apartment. I still think about that master bathroom, at least several times a week. And you know how recently we moved back to Easton? like a year and a half ago. Why did it take me so long to make a video about this? I really don't know. I don't know why when alcohol is a drug by definition, people say drugs and alcohol. So stupid. It's like saying fruit and grapes. And number 3 is Totopo. At the time, the Pittsburgh Foodies Facebook group had 40,000 people, over 10% of the overall Pittsburgh population in one Facebook group. And they love food. They do. And I asked them, what is the most authentic Mexican restaurant in Pittsburgh? There are a lot of restaurants in Pittsburgh. So when a third of the comments said the same place in downtown Mount Lebanon, we went there, and it is the best Mexican food I've ever had to this day. We went there all the time, by the way. We went there like probably at least like 20 times. And I also reviewed them on Google Maps. I'm gonna be putting out a video soon as well about how writing reviews on Google Maps changed my life. But that is why we moved out of Pittsburgh. This video is one of the most personal videos I have put out in a very long time. I hope that it did not bore anybody to sleep. I hope that people learned something from it or found it entertaining. If you did, please make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already so you can see more videos that are kind of like this one. And if you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to get a notification whenever I drop new videos, that would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.